Hi students, this is Mrs. Laybourne and this is section 10.5, Solving a Quadratic Equation Using the Quadratic Formula. Just to review, the standard form of a quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a is not equal to 0. There are times when it's just not possible to factor a quadratic equation, and we have values for a, b, and c, so we can't necessarily use the method of finding the square root. To graph the equation, the y-intercepts may be very difficult to determine. So this formula will always work for us in any of those situations, as well as times when we could have factored the equation. The formula says, once you've written your equation in standard form, then you can determine x, or the solutions for the equation, by determining the values for a, b, and c and plugging them into the formula, which says x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of the quantity b squared minus 4ac, and the entire expression is being divided by 2a. So for an example, if we have the problem 3x squared minus 1 equals x, and we want to solve for x, so we're going to get the equation equal to 0, and so we would write it as 3x squared minus x minus 1 is equal to 0. A is equal to 3, the coefficient of the quadratic term. B is equal to negative 1, the coefficient of the linear term. And the constant term c is equal to negative 1. Now we could try solving it by factoring or one of the other methods, but in this case there isn't a number that we can think of that multiplies to negative 3, or a set of numbers that multiply to negative 3 and adds to negative 1. So we could just go ahead and use our formula. So x is equal to the opposite of b, which now would be 1, plus or minus the square root of negative 1 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 3, times c, which is negative 1, all divided by 2 times a. And that would simplify to 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 plus 12 all over 6. And again, we could simplify it to 1 plus or minus the square root of 13 all over 6. And you'll see that we'll get two values for x. One of them would be 1 plus the square root of 13 all divided by 6. And the other one would be 1 minus the square root of 13 all divided by 6. If we want exact answers, we can just leave our answers written in this form and we would be done. Sometimes they will say to approximate your answers to the nearest hundredth, and so at that point you would plug 1 plus radical 13, hit enter, and then divide by 6, and then round your answer to the hundredths, and then do the same thing for the negative value. Okay, I'm going to give you a problem now, and you can determine the exact answer, and when you have that, you may come back and check your work with mine. So the problem is 3n squared minus 5n is equal to negative 1. So again, press pause and then come back. So 3n squared minus 5n plus 1 is equal to 0. A is equal to 3. B is equal to negative 5. And C is equal to 1. So using the formula, we would have N is equal to the opposite of B, which would be the opposite of negative 5, so it would be positive 5, plus or minus the square root of B squared, which would be 25, minus 4 times A times C, all over 2A, which would be 6. And this time we would have 5 plus or minus the square root of 13, all divided by 6. We could leave our answer as it is to have an exact answer, or again, as I said earlier, you could put in your calculator 5 plus radical 13, hit enter, and then divide by 6, and then round your answer, and then do the same thing for the negative value. So I hope you find it easy to use the formula. Yes, it is a formula that you will need to memorize, but I'll show you some quick ways to do that. Okay, you may get started on your homework or other homework, and I will see you in class soon. Take care. Bye-bye.